And first cast your mind back 5 years ago to the 2010 general election. Remember, I agree with Nick, and the Liberal Democrats' rise in the polls, well, that dissipated and the Lib Dems ended up losing 5 seats. But then David Cameron, short of a Commons majority, invited the party into government as a part of the coalition. And the first of our pre-election leader profiles, our political editor, Gary Gibbon, reflects on the rollercoaster experience of the Liberal Democrat leader, Nick Clegg, and asks what that did to him and his party.
Biting his lip the morning after the last general election, Nick Clegg was a defeated man. Hopes of a Lib Dem surge had evaporated and he'd lost MPs.
Last night was a disappointment for the Liberal Democrats.
Nick Clegg had no idea, but a few streets away, David Cameron was preparing to offer him full-blown coalition. It would propel the Liberal Democrats into government for the first time since the Second World War. It would transform Nick Clegg's life and shatter his popularity ratings. In from the cold of opposition to the corridors of power in Whitehall.
Hi, Danny. Hi, David. Hi, So, budget.
For 5 years, Nick Clegg and his ministers have shaped government policy, vetoed what they don't like, from foreign policy to the budget.
There was no last-minute Conservative trickery-bookery with the numbers.
5 years ago, just down the corridor from what became Nick's office, the first peacetime coalition since the 1930s was negotiated in this room. Nick Clegg was deeply worried that voters wouldn't believe coalition would work. So he instructed his ministers not to slag off their coalition partners and to project a mood of harmony. And on that project, he truly led from the front.
Yes, of course, by having to prove that coalition worked, we were quite sort of tight-lipped about the obvious day-to-day differences that exist between the Liberal Democrats and Conservatives in those early stages.
We're talking about a couple of years or so.
Yeah.
Coalition wasn't seen as a business arrangement, which it should have been.
1 year ago, Lib Dem MP John Pugh called for Nick Clegg to stand down.
It was seen as though the Liberal Democrats had decamped and gone off and joined the Conservative tribe. That wasn't the case, but that's the way it would have appeared.
Last year, you said he was a drag on the vote and should probably go.
Yeah.
Would you be in better shape if he had?
I genuinely don't know now, because I think the electorate are getting Nick in a way that they didn't in the past. That being said, there will be a rationing, to say the least, of the presence of Nick Clegg on some Lib Dem literature in some places. I don't think there's anything strange about that. I think people are just recognising the fact that in certain areas, in certain places, some faces fit better than others.
Paddy Ashdown says Nick Clegg is now at peace with himself, ready for whatever the voters throw at him, because he feels he did the right thing.
Clearly, there are millions of people out there. They're not saying now they're going to vote for the Liberal Democrats, but as we move forward in the months and years ahead, because of course we've taken a temporary knock by going into coalition, doing controversial things to fix the economy, I think actually the Liberal Democrats are now in a more secure position to grow faster in the future, because we are where many, many, many millions of our fellow citizens are, who want the right balance between a strong economy and a fair society. If you want to grow in British politics, it's not rocket science. You've got to be, and you've got to speak up for, and you've got to represent the interests of where many, many other people are. And I actually think that that decent liberal centre is where many people are. And of course, it's our job to communicate that in the years ahead.